Trevor Cormier has been doing a lot of really good videos addressing male behavior and male-on-male hostility and male dominance hierarchies. He's also done a lot of videos addressing this whole transsexual phenomenon. And I'm planning on doing a video addressing one of his videos that addressed my video on this whole transsexual phenomenon. It's I've done 2 videos so far on this transsexual issue, and I've looked at his comment sections, and I've noticed this time and time again, and I've noticed this over years, and I want to discuss this because I see it popping up over and over again. And Alex Kitten, who's part of our pro-male collective, made a really short but brilliant comment in this back and forth on this thread, and he said that women select for toxic masculinity, which is absolutely true. Feminists, use this term toxic masculinity, and they use it in a way that they take a truth and they mix it with a lie. I think everyone in our collective, pro-male collective, understands that a lot of male behavior is toxic. I mean, men are some of the most, they're the greatest driver of misandry in many ways. And the problem with feminism is there's two problems. They make it sound like men still somehow benefit. They'll do this gaslighting where they'll say, it hurts men. It's the same with this nebulous concept of patriarchy. They'll be like, patriarchy hurts men too, or something, or they'll say the gender roles hurt men too. It's like, no, gender roles only hurt men. The gender roles help women. Toxic masculinity helps women. It to the detriment of men. And the most important thing, and we need to stress this over and over again, is that women select for toxic masculinity. They select for men with these kinds of traits. And you say something like that, and it ends the thread. It ends the conversation, because at the end of the day, it's true. And I think this is something that a lot of MRAs are hesitant to address. It's or they address it, but they address it in the wrong way. These gaslighting games, they'll go back and forth, and it's brought up in the whole transgender debate because they want to talk about are transgenders, transsexuals, whatever, the same thing. They're not, there's this talking point that they're not accepted by men as women, or transphobia it's the fault of the patriarchy, or it's the fault of men. I mean, the bottom line is, men are not interested in other men sexually just because they wear a skirt. And it is women that will never accept these guys as women. Maybe a few women will, for as political pets for the time being, or depending on the circumstance or situation. But it's whenever these vague terms like patriarchy or toxic masculinity are brought up, what they really mean is it's all men's fault. That's really what they're saying. I mean, you can't take what they say at face value. They're essentially saying they're taking agency away from women. They're saying bad things happen because men. Now, there is a toxic masculinity. There absolutely is a toxic masculinity, and men are the greatest victims of it. And am I going to say that women drive it, or women are the cause of it? No, but they do select for it. So this feminist narrative, which the transsexual transgenders use, the most public ones, I should say, use. Not all of them. I get it. I know some just want to wear skirts, but the ideological, political transgenders, the like ContraPoints, will say things like they'll make it sound like they'll buy into the whole feminist narrative that basically it's all men's fault, and women, to be fair, they are not pulling the strings here and forcing men to be toxic, and this is absolutely true. But at the end of the day, women overwhelmingly select for these traits, and they always have. We need to make this point clear. This cannot be stressed enough. We have to constantly tear down and not just critique, but we have to obliterate this feminist ideology, especially in left-wing spaces, or so-called left-wing spaces, because the ideology itself is a fundamental cockblock to any men's rights activism. You know what? I won't even use the word men's rights activism. Just to address. It's a cockblock to any issues faced by men, because these feminists will always say is, oh, circumcision. Oh, we're working on that, but first we got to take care of da 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 da. Whatever issue, it's either the feminists will say. No, that they'll play this game where they'll minimize. They'll say it's not as serious as our issues, or we're working on it. But first, we gotta take care of men's issues. Like, this is why we have to tear down feminist ideology at every step. At every turn and at every opportunity, because it will always be a cock block. We have to do this. We cannot allow feminists to gaslight and derail. Their ideology will always impede any progress made by men. And I just think that point that women select for toxic masculinity, it needs to be stressed. Now, you'll get all the concern trolls that say, not all women are like that, blah blah blah. Like, it's irrelevant what individual women are like. The bottom line is, collectively, society benefits from male disposability. I'm going to repeat that again. Collectively, society and women benefit from male disposability. So this needs to be stressed over and over again. And it's gonna this whole transsexual debate. It seems to bring up the same issues that MRAs have been addressing over and over again. When I hijacked this protest in Washington D.C., this transsexual rights press conference. I mean, it's a perfect example, because you've got you've got a group of people that want their rights, they want equality, which really means in their case they want to be seen as women. I mean, I think transgenders should have the same rights as any other human being. I don't think they deserve violence, but I don't think being seen as women by men and other women is a right. Like, I don't know how you can even enforce such a thing, and the glaring contradiction there, or the glaring thing that these transsexuals or transgenders overlook, is male genital mutilation. I mean, that's the one right that their genital protection is the one right that they're missing, and in their case, it's highly relevant. From what I've heard, it's difficult to transition into becoming a female if you're missing parts of your penis. And you'd think that they would care. You'd think that they would care about something like that, because it's relevant. And the fact that they don't care, that their genitals have been altered, and then it'll be harder to transition into a pseudo female body. The fact that they don't care about that speaks to their priorities. That what they really just want is they want female privilege. That's all they want, and that's why you've got these shitheads like ContraPoints talking about toxic masculinity, and that's why they surround themselves with those kinds of men and women, feminists, because at the end of the day, they just want the female privilege. So, we have to, as a collective, we have to continue to do what we are doing. We do have to address toxic masculinity. We do have to address male-on-male hostility. But we have to make it clear that there's a power dynamic here, and that men are not benefiting from the current state of affairs. And I will say that one last time. This will be my closing statement. Men are not benefiting from the current state of affairs, and it's up to us to change it.